It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch.
Welcome in on Wednesday, Hump Day. Good to be with you. No pro hoops last night. That starts tomorrow. However, there was plenty of college basketball and controversy. Last night all over the place. We'll get into the games in a minute. The controversy has to do with the University of Alabama and a young man who I'm assuming is 18 or 19 years old, Brandon Miller, who has never been in trouble before and is a projected, fair to say, J-Mo, a top 5 guy?
Yeah, I would think so. I've definitely heard lottery pick for sure, but he seems to be one of the top picks in the draft.
So if you're a top 5 guy, your salary range with 3 years guaranteed money is somewhere between $20 and $30 million. I think top pick gets about $30 million in that neighborhood, guaranteed for 3 years. So here's a young guy, never been in trouble, looking at $30 million, and gets a phone call at 1:30 in the morning, from a teammate, who, by the way, is older than he is. And the teammate says, I left my gun in your car. That is not the term he used, but that is what he was referring to. Bring it to me. A kid who's still 18 or 19 has some sense because he's never been in trouble, right? And you would think the logical thing would be, it's 1:30 in the morning. No, I'm not getting up. I'm not bringing it to you. You want it? Come get it. Or, what do you need it for at 1:30 in the morning? Come home. Forget it. But that's not what he does. He gets up and he goes and brings the gun to his teammate, Darius Miles, who then hands that gun to another person who fires that gun at a car and kills a 23-year-old young lady who was there to visit her boyfriend and her cousin. A death of a beautiful 23-year-old girl who's just an innocent person in all of this. Darius Miles, whose gun it was, is immediately kicked off the team by head basketball coach Nate Oates. Nothing is ever done to Brandon Miller. To the best of my knowledge, he's never missed a practice, certainly never missed a game. No disciplinary action that we know of has ever occurred to Brandon Miller. His coach yesterday said Brandon Miller has never been in trouble and is not in trouble. So there's absolutely no lesson, no anything of acknowledgement of involvement by this kid who's the best player on the number 2 team in the country. Nate Oates was very uncomfortable talking about it and made a flippant remark, which he then apologized on Twitter, aggressively apologized and said, I was wrong about that. I didn't mean it that way. This is tragic. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family of the 23-year-old young lady. I'm not holding Nate Oates at all responsible for that particular statement, because clearly he was searching for the right way to answer whatever question prompted his statement yesterday, which was acknowledgement that now Brandon Miller, by the way, is tied to this. There's 2 other guys that were never mentioned besides the shooter and Darius Miles. Darius Miles immediately is kicked off the team. And by the way, the shooter and Miles, whose gun it was, it's in prison. Miles' mother, I believe, is actually a police officer, and went and begged the judge on behalf of her son to at least let them be out on bail, and they were denied bail. Brandon Miller, you could make the argument because there was, as the police said, Brandon Miller had no legal charge against him. You could easily say, you know what? Brandon Miller had no idea what this was for. He was awakened by a teammate who said, I've got something in your car. Bring it over to me. He's an older guy, so maybe he goes, okay, I better do that. Although the number one player on the team is Brandon Miller. And Darius Miles, by the way, hadn't really played at all, except in the game against Memphis. And he played well in that game. This is another guy that was a former really great high school player that was either a 4 or a 5-star guy that hadn't really worked out. So he goes and he knows it's a gun. He says, you got my cap, or I don't remember the exact term that's used, but it's a gun. And he even tells him there's a bullet in the chamber. I guess saying be careful when you bring the gun. So if you say to me, maybe Darius Miles didn't know what the gun was for. He had no idea, but he's going to bring this to the guy, and then he's going to leave. And then maybe there's no connection whatsoever. However, Brandon Miller's car is shot up in this ordeal. He was there. He brought him the gun. He was there. He may have no connection at all to whatever with the shooting. But Nate Oates, as a leader of an 18 or 19-year-old person who has a future of $20 to $30 million ahead of him, should there not be some lesson learned to let the guy just go without saying to him, you're going to miss 3 practices and 2 games because you did a stupid thing by getting up at 1:30 in the morning and bringing a guy a gun? There's no lesson learned whatsoever in all of this. And Brandon Miller, a kid that has never been in trouble before, what's he thinking about bringing something like that at 1:30 in the morning? Certainly he should have some sense that there has to be, with the death of a person, some ramification for your involvement. And the lesson he's learned is, I guess I'm a lot better than Darius Miles. I never touched the gun, really. I gave it to Miles. Then he took it to the other guy, and there has to be some ramification. I don't understand how he goes and gets totally away without any kind of learning thing here. And unfortunately, that poor young woman's family has to live with this the rest of their lives. They're affected forever. Tough thing. And we'll talk a little bit about this with Ron Higgins later. There was an incident of a LSU wide receiver, the best guy on the team last year, a sophomore, now going to be a junior next year, who was at Mardi Gras and it was carrying a gun illegally concealed. Crazy things happening all over the place. I don't know if this goes away with Brandon Miller now that the world knows about it. And there are plenty of people who are writing and saying, what's Nate Oates thinking? Some of them have come down on Nate Oates for being unfeeling toward the victim by the statement that he made that basically Brandon Miller was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then he backtracked on that as quickly as his agent and lawyer told him to, or the president or the AD or somebody. But I'm wondering if there will now be some ramification to Brandon Miller based on what we see now. And the police were very reluctant about saying, well, what are we going to charge him with? So I don't think this is totally going to go away. I do think, as Nate Oates said yesterday, there will be discussion of this by NBA general managers when they start to think about drafting. Now, will he slip below the 1 to 5 that I kind of think he's at? I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know that the University of Alabama, or I feel the University of Alabama, should have done something, been more transparent about Miller and the incident, and that there should have been some ramification because he's the one that ends up bringing the weapon. It's Miles. I get it. And Miles is the one that took it and then brought it to the guy that ends up shooting it. But if Miller says, I'm not coming to bring you that, come here, or you shouldn't be doing it, or whatever, maybe that girl is alive today. We'll see how all of that plays out. In the meantime, man, was there good basketball last night? Did you watch much of that, J-Mo?
I can honestly say I did not watch any of it. I'm
What?
afraid. None of it.
Seriously?
Yeah, this is All-Star break, Dave. You know, taking a little breather.
Let me explain something to you. You know, and this really hurts because of my love of college basketball and the knowledge that you were once a coach in that great game of college basketball. There is no All-Star break with college basketball. The games go on. There was Tuesday games in the SEC. There were Tuesday games in the Big East, which, by the way, is an incredible league. And there was a huge game with ramifications for the University of Memphis because the mighty Tennessee Volunteers, who've hit some skids, they were playing on a whale of a game at Texas A&M. They were up by 9 in that game early. And then A&M kind of took over, and A&M went up by 9. And then they were going back and forth, and it was pretty close. And in the end, the Aggies were able to do just enough, particularly at the free throw line, to knock off the Volunteers. So the Aggies are now one game behind Alabama. Alabama's 13-1 in the SEC. Aggies are now 13-2. They're only a half a game behind. You know what their net is now?
I don't.
Their net is 23, which means Memphis has a quad one win against the Aggies. And that, they just keep playing and keep it right there. That is going to be very helpful. So,
and Vanderbilt has to be working their way up the net, too. They've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, they actually only have, I think, they have 6 losses. That's it in the SEC. Let me double-check that really quick, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, in the SEC,
that's where it is.
In the SEC, they're 8-6. I believe that's a better record than even Arkansas, who is number 16 in the net. Let me see where Vanderbilt is.
So, Vandy, if it gets to 75, that's a quad one. It's a quad two now, I think.
They're 87 right now.
So
I guess
they got to move up 12, and well, I mean they have enough on their schedule where they can do that for sure.
LSU on the road tonight. LSU I don't think has a very good net, but then they play at home against Florida. They go to Rupp Arena. And at home against Mississippi State, so they have an opportunity to move up. Maybe you get 2 quad one wins in there, 2 SEC teams.
Well, you know they were 4-1 against the SEC. The only loss by 3 at Alabama. You know that does help your resume. You got to win tomorrow against Wichita State. No, I don't know at this point if KD is going to be able to play.
You have a hunch?
I don't even have a hunch.
Really?
Because in the press conference on Monday, I don't think Penny really gave away too much. And then I guess from watching him in Houston, I would say it's feasible. I know he probably is just dying to play. That's the kind of kid he is. And you need the win. So I'm going to say, in my heart, I think he's going to try to play. But I'm being upfront here. Intellectually, I don't know. I really don't have the knowledge on that. I may know more today when I watch him walk on the plane and see if he's got a boot on or not. When I watch Shoot Around tomorrow, I'll definitely know more. But at this very moment, I must confess to you, I don't know.
I agree with your thought process, though. This is a must-win in a way that Houston wasn't. Maybe he could have gone against Houston, maybe not. But if there's any percentile more than 0, I think he'll play tonight.
Wichita State is a net 121. Or 120. I'm sorry, they went down 1. and they've played better of late. But you can't lose to a 120 net. And
even on the road.
And try to keep that even on the road at this point, because even though you're getting more quad one wins, you really have to win that kind of a game. I believe that if Memphis wins all the remaining games, minus the Houston one, they're still in. They could lose at home to Houston and I think still get in, provided they win this game, the one at Dallas, and of course the one on Sunday against Cincinnati. So
I saw that one advertised last night on network TV. They're hyping it up. Hopefully they get a packed house.
The first game was pretty good, and if you got KD in there and you got a packed house here, which I think you will, and you got a full team, which I think you will, then personally I think Memphis can beat Houston. I think Memphis will beat Houston at home if KD is able to go. That's my feeling.
You could lose to Wichita State if you beat Houston, I think. Well, maybe not, but you could certainly afford one.
You probably could, but boy, would there be pressure.
That's right.
I think your best bet is to win at Wichita. Remember how I've been saying how hard it is to win at Wichita State, Coke Arena, how loud it gets and all this other stuff?
It's true.
They're only 7-7 at home this year. And to make matters worse, in conference, they are 2-5. 2-5. Now, Isaac Brown is, I think, playing to get into the NIT. Maybe that would save his job. But, honestly, take care of business. Just, you got to go there. You got to win, and everything will take care of itself.
Wow. And the home wins, this is crazy. The home wins are Tulsa and SMU. So, pretty much the teams that they should beat at home.
Well, since you're looking at that, I don't think they have really beaten a good AAC team yet.
No, they have not.
Except for maybe Temple. They beat Temple the last time out, and they won in Philly. Something's happened to that Temple team.
They won in South Florida. I'll give them a win at South Florida. I know South Florida's not very good. On the road, though, tough game. Yeah, they've lost at home to Tulane in overtime, though. Took that one to overtime, so a competitive game. Lost at home by 9 to Houston, so I would also say that's probably a competitive game.
Yeah, and they were I watched a bunch of that game. They were ahead in that game a lot.
And then lost by 5 at home to UCF. So all of their games at home have been competitive. You gotta earn a win if you go play there.
Yeah, it would help a great deal if KD plays in the game, that is for sure. One last thing. Have you watched Creighton play this year?
Not since, what would that be, Maui?
When they beat Arkansas?
That's right.
That was a classic game.
Good game.
They've got the pieces to be a really good team. And I'm telling you, this league that they are in, the Big East, well, it does get recognition, but it's a heck of a league. It's maybe third or fourth best league in the country, I think. I don't know where they're rated by net or whatever, but I think it's incredible. Last night, Marquette goes to Creighton. You know how hard that is to play in there?
Really
Memphis played
tough.
in that building in Omaha in an NIT game, and they all came out for that. You could not get a ticket. They actually sold standing room only. I watched part of that game on FS1 last night, and I will tell you, I love the pieces that Creighton has. They're not really deep, but their 5 guys are all really good, solid players. They got the 7-footer who's as good a rim protector, I think, as the kid Edie from Purdue. I mean, he's terrific. They got a shooter. They got a slasher. They got a point guard in Nemhard who's really good. I honestly think they've underachieved this year, but there's still time for them to put it all together. And then here's Marquette, which is, 8th in the country? Marquette goes to Creighton. Sold-out arena, standing room only, and wins the game. And they were behind a lot in that game, and they came back. It was really fun. And then here's Villanova, even without Jay Wright. They go to Cincinnati to play Xavier, also ranked, and upset them. That league, Providence is in that league, has got a good team. That is an incredible league. I would not be shocked if you had a Final Four team that came from that league.
And I think I heard that Shaka Smart is a finalist for Coach of the Year, too. And, I mean, after Texas, to do what he's doing at Marquette is really impressive.
Here's what I think it's really impressive what he's done, and that you bring that up, is I've heard a theory about why. So when he was at VCU, he got kids that weren't 5-star guys. They were 3-star guys, 2.5-star guys, maybe a 4-star guy in there, all had chips on their shoulder. And the way he plays, you got to play hard, you got to play defense, you got to be physical, you got to take it. And he finds the right guys that way. He goes to Texas, and he's dealing with five-star guys who don't respond to that. I think of, I don't know, I shouldn't just say this, but I will. I think of Amani Bates, who, you know what? He's not interested in really working hard. He wants to take shots. He might want to try to drive, but he's not big enough to go inside. He's been catered to because he's been this sort of elite athlete who can shoot the ball and doesn't have the work ethic nor maybe the mental toughness that a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder that went to VCU from Shaka Smart does, right? So that's what he's dealing with 5 stars at Texas. They don't respond to him. Now he goes to Marquette, and he goes back to that same philosophy. First of all, he's got a point guard who's really good. And they're tough. And they don't get rattled, and they play great defense, and they steal balls and get stuff in transition. And it's that kind of a player that responds to Shaka Smart. He's really a good coach with the right kid. And, coaches all the time talk about fit. You hear it mainly in football, but it's true in basketball. And the kind of guy that Shaka Smart can get at Marquette or at VCU responds to him. The 5-star guy at Texas doesn't. So this is a great fit for him. I hope it really works out the rest of the way. I think they are a really fun team to watch. All right, we're going to talk more SEC hoops, games last night, and a lot of other stuff with our friend Brett Norsworthy. He joins us in just a minute, and then Ron Higgins a little bit later. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studio, and a reminder to you by now, save big with the area's largest selection of patio furniture on what they're calling the preseason, because we're almost there. The preseason patio and pool sale. This is about the time I start to think about my pool and getting it ready, because, you can start heating it up in May. You still got a couple of months, but you're going to be able to use it soon. Now you get the deals. If you get to I-40 and Wooden Road, get ready for the preseason patio and pool sale with our guys at Family Leisure. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Conway. If there's any system in your home, anything that includes plumbing, that includes heating, that includes cooling, or even electric, any system that goes wrong, they'll help you. I'll break down in any of those. If you call Conway, they'll take $50 off any heating, cooling, or plumbing system repair that's over $200 right now. They're confident that they will fix it the very first time you call them, and they're ready 7 days a week to get right to your issue. Call 384-3511, or you can even go to conwayservices.com for details and terms and conditions. When we come back to Forest City, we go. Our friend Brett Norsworthy is standing by. Stats is next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
It's here, Mid-South, the last call. Special editions honoring the end of an era with Dodge Challenger and Dodge Charger and the last of the legendary Hemi engines that power them. Up to 808 horsepower and heritage colors. B5 blue, plum crazy purple, and sublime green. At Gossett's got 'em more than anyone in 300 miles. So come by and take a look at these bad boys. Plus, celebrate the President's Day sales event with 2022 Jeep Renegade Latitude 4x4, $398 a month, or get 2022 Dodge Charger SXT for $49 a month. Savings everywhere at Gossett, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Fiat. But if you can't find exactly what you want, let Gossett order it today. So drive past the rest and come to the best. Gossett on the Pike, or shop online, GossettMotorCars.net.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
3500 cash down, 75 months at 4.99 APR. Renegade NPN 96688, MSRP 32880. Charger NN 246270, MSRP 35630. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF 695 excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/2023. Dealer stock only.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Tiger fans, Memphis returns to FedEx Forum to face American Conference rival Cincinnati Sunday, February 26 at 1. Come watch the Tigers continue to work toward back-to-back NCAA appearances and their second-to-last home game of the regular season. The first 6,000 fans receive a free blue t-shirt. Get there early to enjoy pregame wrestling outside the main entrance. Sunday, February 26 at 1 against Cincinnati. Wear blue and go Tigers go.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh yeah, our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. Also, that's where they have those incredible Genesis cars. And right now they got a special with a G70. And I mean, it is special. If you want that sports car that's like a rocket ship, it is fast. It is luxurious. And if you will do business with Genesis, they'll pay you $1,000. Here's the deal. You can get a special price on a G70, and they'll give you a $1,000 rebate if you agree to finance with Genesis. And why wouldn't you? They're paying you $1,000 to do business with them. And you're going to get a good price, and you're going to get a great product. All you got to do is get down Lamar. That's Highway 78 to the first exit in Mississippi. That's Craft Road. Turn left. See Chris True. See Vinny Gerard. He's the guy over the Genesis cars. Tell him we sent you. Tell him you want to do business with Genesis at Homer Skelton Hyundai. We head down the road ourselves to Forest City, Arkansas. That is where the king of Forest City resides. That would be Brett Norsworthy. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well, Dave, and I thought last night was, I agree with you, it was really good games around college basketball, and I said yesterday, March Madness has started for me. You know, next week we're into a one-bid tournament action next week, and these games now all really in the big, kettle of fish. It all factors in, including last night for the Tigers. I think the Tigers needed A&M to win that game, especially with how the net perceives Tennessee. Boy, I don't get that. But since it does, I think it was good for A&M. And there's the potential there for the Tigers to have defeated a team that could win the SEC regular season. A&M's only one back of Bama in the loss column, and now Bama is getting ready to be a big controversial disaster.
Yes. Well, I want to get to that in a minute. Buzz Williams, I think, deserves a lot of credit. When A&M came here, they were not playing as well as they are playing now. And I got to give a kid a lot of credit, and I had fun with him when he was here with A&M. He was warming up by our broadcast booth position, and I said, Dexter Dennis, I don't recognize you in that unit, because he spent all that time at Wichita State. And they even showed this picture of him last night cleaning up after a game, because that's
sure did.
what Greg Marshall used to do to teach his kids what life is really all about. And he was instrumental in playing defense. He was the American Defensive Player of the Year last year. I guess that was last year. And he did a heck of a job on both Vescovi and the little point guard, number 5. I can't believe I can't think of his name right now.
The 3-pointer. He did do a good job on him, and he made one deep three
Ziegler.
on him.
Ziegler.
He made one deep three on him. But he was with him most night. I thought you were going to give some credit to Coach Rock, too, there, Steve Rockford.
Hey, it's good to see him. You know, that guy, he has coached so many different schools now. It's amazing. He's really an interesting
He's
cat.
been everywhere, man.
Hey, he's a different kind of a guy, but I happen to really like him. If you don't know,
I do, too.
We're talking about Steve Rockford, who left John Calipari to go be the head coach at his alma mater, Southeastern Louisiana, was it?
Uh-huh.
Or Northeastern, one of the two. And he was okay there for about 3 or 4 years, and then ultimately, pretty tough. But he's been an assistant.
Nobody went there.
So here's I'm glad we correlated this with Dexter Dennis and Wichita State and the lessons. You might not like the way he treated guys, but I do think at his heart, Greg Marshall was trying to teach his guys, like when he would make them clean up the Coke Arena after a game with the crew so that they could learn life's lessons. Nate Oates, at this point, you mentioned the controversy with Alabama. We now find out Brandon Miller is the guy that brought Darius Miles his gun because it was in Miller's car, and that Miller's car got shot up during all of this. And to the best of all of our knowledge, there was no ramification whatsoever, no suspension, no missing of a practice, no missing of a game, nothing that was there to try to teach Brandon Miller that what he did, bringing a gun at 1:30 in the morning, was wrong. You give me, if you haven't done this on your show yet, I apologize, but give me your very quick take, especially since I was in the soapbox about it this morning.
I did yesterday at 3:05. Jay Morgan can attest. I did yesterday. I don't know how Nate Oates and Greg Byrne are employed. I don't know how the DA in Tuscaloosa County is not under incredible heat from victims' rights groups, state, county, and nationwide. Brandon Miller, if that's not accessory to a crime, what in the world does it take? And from the beginning, Alabama basketball and Alabama administration has treated this like, air quotes here, a violation of team rules or maybe a strained hamstring. I mean, someone lost their life. A mother lost her life. At least the assailant and all the people around them, their lives are ruined. No, Nate Oates hadn't cared about suspending Brandon Miller for a game. Nate Oates cares about winning a national championship, and it's become obvious. He did try to clean it up last night with a written statement, but every time he has spoken about it, never mind the written statements, because we know he's not writing those. They're saying, here, sign this, that you wrote it. All the verbal statements, all the press availabilities, he's just made it that much worse and will continue to. This is extreme, Dave. I know it is, but look what New Mexico State just did. Look how Lefty Driesell was treated at Maryland after the fact. Len Bias's eligibility was up at Maryland, and it still cost him his job. Maybe that was extreme. I don't know how Alabama continues the rest of the year. I don't know that they should continue the rest of the year. This is deplorable, and I think almost any measure could not be enough to meet what is the infraction that has gone on here.
I don't know what the SEC will do with this. On top of that, and as you just mentioned, we're winding down here. This is and Alabama is in first place in the league. I'm not saying you're going to take away any of their wins, but will there be a sit down of Brandon Miller until this is sorted out? Because this isn't going away, as we just as I said and you just mentioned, it's not going away.
No, it's not, and it shouldn't. And if you do that to him, I feel like, especially as pliable as all these rosters are now, I think he would not receive it very well, and he'd be out of there. If you suspended him for a half, I don't think it would go over well, because we're on eggshells with all these players now. on whether they will or won't play, and especially at this time of year, particularly if it's not going well. But in their case, it was before this. And this story had mostly gone away until Nate Oates, those quotes yesterday, the tone deafness, the insensitivity, just dumb what he said. And I think Alabama will have to pay. I know right now many are saying, particularly of the Crimson nature, are saying, why would you punish the whole team? Well, at least 3 players haven't been implicated, Dave, and we know a lot of these coaches that, if one's late for a team meeting, we all run. If one misses a class, we all run. Well, what's the standard if 3 are involved in a loss of life?
I don't know. And what is interesting to me is that Brandon Miller was never identified until, as far as I know, and I wasn't really reading the story all that deeply. Once they just said the guy who shot the person was not a player, and that Darius Miles was, and it was his gun, and they jettisoned him immediately, right?
They did.
So, and then you heard a little bit later, what's the kid's name? Is it Bradley? That is another player that was
Avery
on
Bradley.
the scene. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we did hear past that there was another player that was on the scene. I never knew that Miller was on the scene until yesterday.
I think this was close. I think because there was some court filing or court proceeding, and more information was gleaned through Freedom of Information and through public records about that, and that's when he was named, and that's when Nate Oates was asked about it, and just gave one of the worst tone deaf answers you'll ever hear and see. And Dave, a lot of times you can read something and it's not quite like it goes off if you watch the video of it. Well, I did both. They both were. It was equally bad. I mean, it was, late for a team meeting. Hey, too bad, a strained hamstring. We got to get his jump shot fixed. It was just so careless and lack of caring. And now Alabama's really trying to pardon the pun, rebound from that. I don't know how you have a basketball discussion the rest of the year around them, and the optics of does Greg Sankey, do the college basketball administrators, the Alabama administrators, do they want that standing on the stage in one shining moment playing?
This is a tough spot. I don't know what will happen here going forward with this case
and Dave,
and with Alabama basketball.
It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere that you wake up to this. We're awash in guns, and I just don't understand the attraction or the need in it that somebody 20 thinks they need to have a gun for any reason. Never mind that, but it could be anywhere, and my story would be the same wherever it is.
Well, the one thing Brandon Miller, when I think about him as a young guy, he's never been in trouble that I know of. I've not seen any story that places him in any kind of other legal issues at any other time. You think he's a good kid. Where's the sense if somebody calls you at 1:30 in the morning and says, hey, I left my gun in your car, bring it to me, right? Where's the sense where you go, oh, no, it's 1:30 in the morning.
I'm not getting near a gun.
I'm not. It's yours. Come get it. I'm not getting up and bringing it. So, crazy.
And if you're much of a teammate, I'm not going to let you get near a gun.
Right. Even though that's the older guy. So there's probably some of that pecking order thing in there, although it's pretty clear Brandon Miller
we need to change the pecking order.
Is the best player on that team. All right, so let's kind of throw Alabama out of the equation for a minute. Is Texas A&M the best team in the SEC beyond that? I mean, they're beating all the big guys.
If you're winning all the games, I guess that makes you that, but not according to the net. Tennessee can't lose enough at the net.
You're right. I can't believe that they're still a 3. I looked this morning. They're still a 3 net. How does that happen?
What if they'd have won? Would they have gone to 1 in the net? I don't get it. And I see Tennessee. Here's what I see. Never mind the net. I'm watching basketball, and I see Tennessee losing 4 of the last 5. I see Tennessee losing both times to one of the more average, although it is playing better of late, Kentucky teams that we've seen in John Calipari's years there. I see Tennessee lose at home. I see Tennessee lose close games. I see Tennessee lose wild games. I don't think Tennessee's a run type team. A go for it team?
No, I thought they were early on. They just can't score enough. And, they've undone themselves with missed free throws. Vescovy, who can't miss a three, can't make a free throw when it's on the line. I mean, it's this crazy year. If you just said to me after Memphis beat the heck out of Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt to start the year, this team would end up now they've won 5 games in a row.
Yeah.
They're now
favored tonight at LSU.
They're 8-6 overall. They've won 15 games. Jerry Stackhouse's job, not only has it been saved, he might be the comeback player of the year here.
He sure could be, Dave. There's a chance for Vandy to play into double buys, not play until Friday of the SEC tournament. Currently, they sit in 5th, and the rest of their schedule is pretty conducive to tonight. Favored down at Baton Rouge at the PMAC tonight. And then the rest of their schedule, they have Florida at home on Saturday, and then they do have to go to Rupp, and then they host Mississippi State. It is setting up for them to finish 4th, at the very worst 5th, and that would get the winner of the 12-13 game from Wednesday on Thursday in Nashville at the SEC tournament. So, yeah, Jerry Stackhouse has done a good year. But all of this is illustrative to that kettle of fish I was talking about. Everything factors in. What if the Tigers get an at-large bid because of what they did on the road opening night, November 7th?
Look, they're 87 in the net. If they get to 75, that's a quad 1 win. That could get Memphis a better seeding. Isn't that? I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
It really is.
Kind of stuff. All right. I know we always talk SEC with you. Last thing, and I want to do this really quickly because I had to release. You asked me about this on your show yesterday, but I want to ask you about it because not only you are an SEC guy, but you know a lot about Memphis football. So yesterday they had to release. It was at the end of our show. I mentioned it, but I didn't go into it. You got 6 home games. The best is against Boise. You got 1 neutral. It's in St. Louis against Missouri. I think Memphis actually wears the home jerseys in that. That's the toughest stretch that you've got all year. Missouri, then Boise. Your bye is pretty early. It's the first week of October, so you're going to end up playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, and then you get a bye. I like that bye position right there. 6 teams played in bowls, including the Cotton Bowl winner Tulane. 3 of the bowl winners' games are at home. 4 conference road games. 3 of them are new locations, at UAB, at North Texas, and Denton, at Charlotte. The last game of the year, that's bad. Because that means it's going to be cold in Philly. But
and that could be Friday, too. That could be the day after Thanksgiving.
That's right. That's either a Friday or a Saturday, which I don't like. I hope it's Saturday because then it'll be a day game as opposed to the chill that you would get on a Friday night. I like the fact there's no divisions. It's 1 full league, 14 teams, 1 versus 2 on December the 2nd. This is way too early. This is even before the spring portal, which is gonna have an impact. But with that schedule, the way it lays out, the way you see it, what's the over of under on Tiger wins according to Brett Stats Norsworthy?
Well, we know Ryan Silverfield's got to get to 8, I think, next year. I think everybody generally concedes that, and he can with that schedule. I think that schedule is conducive. I thought it was rather blasé, and there's a lot of factors why. A lot of the SEC teams won't reciprocate and won't play. Ole Miss, Tennessee, and even Mississippi State not on the schedule. You mentioned with us the maybe all too often with Arkansas State. But for a coach that needs to get to 8, he can with that schedule.
Oh, there's no doubt. That's at least 8. I think there's at least 9 in there, to be honest.
I do too. But get to 8, and after that, kind of gravy.
Yeah, and get to the championship game and see what happens.
And the Tulane game will be a Friday night game in Memphis, kind of in the same spot last year. The Houston heartbreak was that will be a good atmosphere.
Oh, it should be a great one. I hope people come to see Boise. I mean, it's big that Boise's coming here. It
is.
Boise used to be a big name. They're not quite as big as they used to be, but and who knows if Boise and Memphis don't end up at some point in the same conference. Who knows the way the dominoes are going to fall. As always, my friend, I appreciate it. Thank you much.
You got it, Dave. Have a great day.
All right, I'll talk to you next Tuesday on your show. You know, it's always good to talk with Statsworthy. Norsworthy, he is, well, he's as sweet as candy, like from Dinstall's. Look, Dinstall's is the iconic brand when it comes to sweets in Memphis. And, you know, Stats he's been around long enough where he's an iconic brand himself. Nobody else calls themselves Stats, do they? Nobody. And nobody can make candy like Dinstall's. On a serious note, they're just the best. You talk about the way they do strawberries. Nobody does strawberries like Dinstall's. And they're back. You can go to the store now. You don't have to pre-order. Go walk in and say you heard it on Wolo. No one does strawberries with the fondant like you guys. I want to try it, and you'll thank me later. Nobody does Cashew Crunch. That's year-round, so maybe that's the most iconic. Their turtlettes are incredible. Their fudge has won national, maybe worldwide awards for the best fudge going. And seriously, when you think about certain foods in Memphis, well, first thing is you probably think barbecue, but if you think candy, you think Dinstall's. Go see why. 5 locations to check it out. Where they make it on Pleasant View. Then you've got Germantown and Collierville to take care of the suburbs. Near my house in East Memphis at Laurelwood, and then the one downtown. You can't beat Dinstall's. We're back in just a minute. To Baton Rouge we go. A little more SEC on this Wednesday on Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Both 650 acquisition fee, 30,000 miles, 20 cents excess mileage, Forte LXS, PE 581,756, MSRP 21,985, Sorrento PG 183,422, MSRP 23,405. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax, title, and license. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/23 with approved credit. Dealer stock only. Warranties are limited. Powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details. Jeff, my man, what's going on over there at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah? Look, I know you got something up your sleeve to blow me away.
You bet I do, Randy. Gas prices are high, but we've got you covered with 41 MPG Highway in your new 2023 Kia Forte LXS at $278 a month, $27.99 due at signing, and a 7-passenger SUV ready to ride in a 2023 Kia Sorrento LX $378 a month, $34.99 due at signing. Both 36-month lease.
Plus peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. And if I don't see exactly what I want,
I'll order it for you, and you won't pay over MSRP. So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
2680 Mount Moriah or KiaMountMoriah.com.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Bobby J's waiting to get your call today and put you in a new Kia from Gossett Kia Covington Pike. Hit the road with 41 MPG Highway for just $278 a month in your new 2023 Kia Forte LXS $27.99 due at signing. Or rule the road in luxury with 2023 Kia K5 LXS $337 a month, $31.99 due at signing, both 36-month lease. And if we don't have what you're looking for, not a problem. Bobby J will order you a new ride today. You won't pay over MSRP. And keep cruising in confidence with Kia's best-in-class warranty, 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Ask for Bobby J. He'll put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike. Online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Quote $30,000 per year, $650 acquisition fee. Forte LXS PE $581 $756, MSRP $21,985, K5 PG $201,565, MSRP $26,805. Includes all rebates and incentives. PF $695. Must finance through Hyundai. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 2/28/23. Dealer stock only. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Baton Rouge we go. And our friend Ron Higgins coming your way right now. In fact, it's just been a crazy day around here. And there was a crazy thing. The top LSU receiver was arrested on Bourbon Street on a misdemeanor charge of illegal carrying of a weapon. Malik Neighbors is the guy. What do you think will happen with him, Ron Higgins? I know he was released without any kind of bond. It is a misdemeanor. What do you think the penalty will be from Brian Kelly to Malik Neighbors?
Well, I think he'll discipline him. I mean, in some form or fashion. I mean, extra running, stuff like that. Just a lack of common sense. First of all, if you think you're going to be uncomfortable on Bourbon Street the night before Mardi Gras to the point where you think you have to carry a gun, then you really shouldn't be on Bourbon Street the night before Mardi Gras. It's not a very smart decision. This was a stunner for a lot of us because he is a good kid. He's one of the best on the team. The lack of judgment in the situation was astounding. Again, you don't go to Mardi Gras packing a gun to where the police can just spot it,
right?
By looking at you and seeing the outline under your clothing. Just not a very smart decision. And Brian Kelly, he'll discipline him. He doesn't take this stuff lightly.
Well,
I don't think it's been for a game, but he'll definitely get into him some.
Part of the reason I ask you that is because of what occurred with Alabama yesterday and Nate Oates and Brandon Miller, who up until yesterday we thought was a good kid, never in trouble. He's a guy that's going to be a top 5 pick most likely. Going to make somewhere to between $20 and $30 million, or was, and now he's put that in jeopardy. And Nate Oates and the athletic director at Alabama now have this big spotlight on them, and they're not looking so good at the moment. And they did nothing to Miller, even though he ends up there's no charges legally, but if you listen to the chain of events the way it appears they occurred, he would be an accomplice to murder, because in this case, this isn't just carrying a weapon. This is use of a weapon that killed a young 23-year-old girl. What's your take on Nate Oates and Brandon Miller and the Alabama basketball mess?
Maybe you and I are different, Wolo. Wolo, if you asked me to, hey, go get the gun out of your car, do you think I would just do it, or ask you, what do you need it for?
Exactly. Especially at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah. What do you need it? What am I getting your gun for? I mean, if you said, don't ask me that, I'll say, I'm not going to get your gun. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it sounds a little fishy. Maybe he wasn't innocent to a point, but if somebody asks me, go get my gun, the first thing I'm going to say is, why do you need your gun? And to me, that's the sticking point here. Why didn't he ask him? If he didn't know what he was going to do with it, why didn't he ask him, what do you need your gun for? And why you hang around with somebody that like that at that time of night? You know, you're a star athlete. You should know better. And you know, anything after, as I say, after midnight, nothing really good happens. Especially if you're an athlete out that late.
So what do you think
happens? Yeah.
The SEC and Alabama, what do they do with Brandon Miller now that this stuff is out there?
The one weakness of the SEC is it always cops his plea. That's the institutional matter. We're not going to be involved with that. And my reply to that is, well, the institution is in your league, but that's their cop out everything. Anything they ask, yes, SEC, I've asked SEC for years. Why don't you have a mandatory drug test for all teams that are the same? Well, that's an institutional decision. No, it isn't. That should be a conference-wide policy. Everybody gets punished the same for how many violations you have of your drug policy. But because every school has a different policy, it's not fair for one school. And so the SEC never gets involved in institutional decisions, which I think is a bunch of BS.
Well, I think this. I think ever since Mike Slive took over, they became a lot more aware and conscious of media and image. And I think Greg Sankey has kept that up. And there is a spotlight on Tuscaloosa, Alabama right now, and it's not a complimentary one. It is a glaring one. And I think they're going to have to do something because I don't think it's going away now that we know more of the facts about what occurred.
It's going to be unbearable on the Alabama basketball team the rest of the year. I mean, the rest of the year, they're going to get the questions, and then they're going to have to ward them off the questions. I mean, I know this. I mean, when Will Wade was suspended for the first time in also with the NCAA tournament, all these players had to answer questions about that because they have open locker rooms.
Right.
And a lot of them had nothing to do with it, but they had to answer questions. It was highly unfair. And Alabama goes to the tournament. When they go to the tournament, they're going to get the same questions.
Well, they're going to get they got the SEC tournament in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then you have open locker rooms for that. So I'm going to get the same questions. Is it fair to those kids? No. But you know what? That Alabama made that bed. Now they're going to lie in it. So,
do you think there will be some immediate ramifications on Brandon Miller?
I think for NBA, yeah. I mean, the NBA is going to wonder about it. They're going to do a full investigation for him, draft him. And yeah, it could definitely hurt his draft stock. I mean, this is maybe they don't want to touch him unless they think it's going to play out in courts. But am I going to draft somebody that could have a criminal background, wittingly or unwittingly? Of course, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, I also am interested. Now there's going to be some pressure on the DA and public officials around Tuscaloosa for why, now that we know his car was shot up, he brought the gun to give to Miles, who then gave it to the shooter. There could be charges that are made. This changes a whole lot of things, and this case is not going to go away in the next 2 weeks. But right before that tournament, I guess we're just going to have to wait. And see what the wheels of justice will do in this particular case. Ron, as always, we appreciate it. Next week, I promise you we'll talk games.
Well, this is part of sports, man. Crime is part of sports. It's sad to say.
It has become that. You are absolutely spot on with that. Thank you, buddy.
All right, see you. Bye.
That is Ron Higgins, our man on the SECs, brought to you by Old Dominick, proud partners of this city and of the Tigers as well. They're located right in the heart of downtown, and Old Dominick has these full distillery tours, curated tastings, and craft cocktails, and they use their product. You want vodka? They've got it. They make it, and you'll learn about the history of it if you take the tour. Then you can taste it. Same thing with the whiskey, and right now they have just released, their master distiller, Alex Castle, has released 2 new whiskeys. One is a bottled and bond, 100 proof. That's the bond part of it all. That gives way back past Prohibition, but it's an interesting history. You'll learn on the tour. And this sipping whiskey. And she never releases a product until it's perfect. Trust me, folks, I've tried it. It's perfect. You will love it. You'll love everything about the experience if you go to Old Dominick. And even if you don't want the tour, just go to the bar. It's beautiful. And you get the great products of Old Dominick. That'll do it for us. I'll be in Wichita tomorrow. J-Mo and Brian Takis take over. I'll see you again Friday.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the